Well, Bill, looks like it has just gone 10 o'clock. We've got got people here for introductions. Thanks for joining, everyone. Bill is presenting today. Bill is our CTO, our Chief Technology Officer, and has been with Kinetics for many years, rafts of knowledge. And today we'll be talking about securing the mobile frontier. My name is Scott Fennell. I'm one of our account managers and the sales team. So some of you may have met me. Everyone is muted for the moment, and the Teams has a chat open and a Q&A. So please, if you have any questions, pop your messages in there, and we'll do our best to answer it. And we'll also be recording the session, and that will be up on our events page on our website in a day or two. So I think that's us. Bill, you ready to go?
Thank you very much, Scott. A raft of knowledge. I haven't heard that before. Could be correct, in which case I'm adrift on a sea of confusion. And hopefully I'm not going to add to everyone's confusion today with this topic. So let's get started. Securing the mobile frontier. Why does mobile security matter? Look, it probably matters more every day. You know, once upon a time, our mobiles were simply, that's where we had our email. And an email, please remember, these days there could be, in amongst those emails, could be credit card information, could be details about staff members, about clients. So we're talking PII, personally identifiable information. I don't know how many people here received an email to let them know that their details were linked in the Qantas hack the other week. You know, none of us want to be in that position where we're having to reach out to a bunch of our clients and say to them, hey, we've had some information. It's perhaps not important information, but nevertheless, we've lost some of yours. These days, of course, you've got to remember you also have Teams often on your mobile, Teams chat. This is a Teams meeting. If your chat's on there, once again, that could have information. Documents, you're opening a Word document on there because it came on an email. You've often got your banking on there. And I remind people, you probably have a digital wallet these days. So securing the mobile device, your Androids, your Apple mobiles, becoming more and more important. So that's the information that's on there. What are the risks? Well, the first two, been around for a long time. Loss or theft of the device still remains an issue. Doesn't happen that often, but certainly when it does, it always results in a panic. Phishing and malicious links. I know this is an old example, but it's a very good example. You might remember the Hillary Clinton campaign was hacked, and that happened through an email that came in on a mobile device. Now, the person that received it went, this looks suspicious, forwarded it on to their IT guy, who said that he responded back, don't click on it, but autocorrect changed it to say it's okay or something like that. So they did, and the campaign was hacked. So we still receive malicious emails, phishing links, they're going to come through. Another big one these days, malicious applications. And most recent one I had was notification just the other day. So a legitimate, or we won't say legitimate, say a working PDF reader that is available through, in this case, it was the Android store. You download it, you run it, it works, and it will work for a couple of weeks. Then, after a couple of weeks, it downloads a banking Trojan, steal your banking information. Okay, so there's certainly risk there, credential theft, information loss, access into your network. Now, down the bottom here is that article about the banking application. Don't worry, it's too big to write down. You'll be able to see it in the recording. Okay, so we have these risks. What can we do about it? Good news is almost everyone probably on this call has access to Intune Mobile Device Manager. So this is available with the majority of Microsoft licenses. Has become really good product over the years. And I'm going to give you some tips about how to get moving with it. Basically, look, it does the simple part, first of all, of giving you a centralized inventory of what devices are out there and what policies are on them. Big words, what does that mean? The number one step for security. It means you know where your data is. You can't deal with a mobile phone that gets lost if you don't know that your data was on that mobile phone in the first place. It allows you to set those basic, simple security measures. Is there a password lock on the screen? Does it lock, and does it require a code to unlock? You can remotely lock and remotely wipe. Incredibly important when you lose something. A lot of Microsoft plans include Defender for the endpoint for mobile phones. So it lets you enforce that, lets you check what the OS version is. MAM, so we've got MDM, Mobile Device Management, MAM, Mobile Application Management. We're starting to get more sophisticated here, and we'll come back to that, but the ability to push applications down onto a mobile phone. And to me, the most important thing is it will also link in with your Azure ID, so you can start to have more access control. If I go back to that, what to me is probably the most important point, you can't manage your information if you don't know where it is. With Intune and Azure ID, you can start to have some rules. That means that people can't actually have their email on their phone unless you know that the device is being managed. Couple of things to consider. Now look, these are not insurmountable, and I have a way to surmount the problems that I'm going to mention at the end here. The first one is there's got to be a difference between a BYO device and a corporate device. I mean, it goes without saying, a corporate device, you have a lot more, shall we say, rights to what needs to happen on the device or what you want to do. A BYO device, well, it's not actually your device. So that can be done. You can have two different policies for each. Of course, it's a lot easier when you're dealing with a new device. So a new corporate device out of the box, it allows you to enforce more policies on it than one that's already in use. So, if I've been using a device, I've already put some apps on it, I've got photos, I've got various bits and pieces already on there. You will, if you get into an in-depth conversation with an engineer about MDM, they'll start talking about Apple and Android. You can't have exactly the same features on each. So each allows you to do slightly different things. Here today, we're going to stick with what you can do. Most things you can do across all of them, but some things it's simply a restriction of whether it's an Apple or an Android. And the last thing to remember is you can have different Android implementations. So Android on your Samsung is different from your Oppo device or your Vivo device. And my advice for all these things is going to be keep it simple, focus on what's important, don't go down the rabbit holes that you can with a program that can get quite sophisticated about what you can do, though there is a path to lead you there. Okay. So I keep on talking about knowing where your data is. And this is, to me, where mobile device management becomes really important. And I'll start with a true story. So when I was working with a client, had a device that often was out of compliance, so it wasn't reporting in. And I'd raise a case and somebody would go and look at it, and the device would magically the next day it would all report in and work, and then later on I'd notice the same thing happening again. So one day I talked to the end user myself, and I actually asked some questions like, let me have a look, share this with me. So what I found out was the person had a company device and they stuck that in a drawer at home and put the SIM card into their personal device. The company device still had Wi-Fi on it. Whenever they got asked about why isn't this reporting, they would go home and turn the device on, connect it to the internet, and it would update. Meanwhile, of course, they're walking around with their personal device, and that's got on it their company MFA, of course, but all their emails, their documents. Remember, these days you can have OneDrive on your mobile phone. So when they left, I could just imagine what was going to happen. They put the SIM card back in their company phone, bring it in, hand it to somebody who wipes all the data off of it. Meanwhile, they walk around with their personal phone that still has all the company data sitting there. So the holy grail to me is conditional access. And the simplest way for that to work is before I can get to my email, I have to have Intune policy applied to my phone. Now that policy doesn't have to be particularly sophisticated, but it means I have one. So now I know the phone exists and I know the phone has my data on it. So every time I go to access from an Android or an Apple device, my email and 365, the system looks and goes, are you compliant? And I've got the compliance rules, the normal ones, which for me would be, am I from an approved IP address? So I'm not connecting them from Uzbekistan. And is it a registered device? Okay, and you can hopefully see that from the diagram. It's nice and simple. If it is, I get access. If I don't, I'm denied. And this is important. If you've filled in any cyber insurance, if you have done NIST, which is the big US cybersecurity framework, if you've looked at ISO 27K, I mean, they're all going to come back to one of the first questions you get asked is, do you know where your data is? So how can you make use of Intune? What I'm going to suggest is, because you've got it with most of your licenses, really start off very simply. You only want two simple policies, and they will probably need to be a BYO policy and a company policy. I'm assuming most companies are going to have a mix of those sorts of devices in use by their staff. The policy you want to enforce that basics of, is there a passcode and a screen lock, and is the Microsoft Defender running on it? There's a couple of other simple ones that you can do as well. Then you want to go around and you ensure that all your company devices are enrolled, and you request your staff that have a BYO device to do so as well. That is actually literally probably the longest part of all this is managing, herding the cats, getting staff together. Enrolling them is not hard, and these correct simple policies aren't going to actually change much. They will need to say, yes, I accept that my device is going to be managed. And that's fair enough. You're letting them access, if it's a BYO device, you're letting them access company data. And you do have a responsibility through the Privacy Act to make sure that you're managing that data. Once that's in place, you've got a simple policy, everybody's using it. You can start to prepare for the next time that you roll out a batch of company devices. Okay, but at this point you do want to, and I'm gonna, just glancing ahead at the next slide because I changed this slightly just before the meeting. I am still on track. Okay. You can prepare a more sophisticated one for the next round, but at this point you can enforce that conditional access because you know all your company devices are registered. You've spoken to staff that have it on their own devices, and hopefully they've come across. And at that point, you can turn on the conditional access that says now, if you're on an Android or a Apple phone, you cannot get company email unless the device is enrolled. Okay, you might then still get some people with a BYO device who say it doesn't work and go, well, actually, you can't access because I do need you to accept these policies. You can start thinking about what are you going to do when you roll out your company phones next. hang on, I am just, yep, okay. And one of those would be to, I'm just going to jump ahead 2 slides because I might have duplicated. Oh, I did. All right. So actually, sorry, I redid the slides and I kept the original version. So that first one, keep it simple, 2 policies, enforce the screen lock, passcode and defender. The policy allow for remote lock and wipe. So I'm securing the device. I know there's that basic security there that if I walk away and I leave it on a bench, somebody can't pick it up and log in. I know I've got Defender, which is included in most of the licenses, running on that device. And Defender is looking for malicious apps and things like that. I know that if you lose the device, I can now remotely lock it or wipe it if I need to. Manage everyone through the changes, make sure all the devices are enrolled. Then conditional access. Okay. Now that means if I go out and I get a new phone and I go, oh, I'm going to access my company email on that, and I go to connect, I go to install OneDrive, I go to put Outlook on there, it's going to prompt me and it's going to say, do you accept that this device needs to have this basic management on there? Choose which you have, a BYO or a company device. If I don't choose those, I'm not going to be able to get access to that information. All right? No Intune, no access. Then you can start to prepare for having your fresh round of devices coming out. So more restrictive policy. Well, I'll say restricted, a more advanced policy. At this point, I can say when my new devices come out, I'm going to enforce encryption on the device. I'm going to encrypt any SIM cards that get, any cards that get put into it, and the data cards that are in there. I'm going to restrict which applications can be installed. So you can have a restriction that says only if the app is actually in the Apple Store or the Android Google Store will I allow that application to be installed on the device. At this point as well, you can start to set up these MAM, managed application, mobile application management policies to push out common applications that you use. So, I spoke before about the PDF reader app. Well, people can choose the wrong app because there's lots of choices when they go in. You can push out the ones that you want people to have. And that does work much better off of a clean device. Okay, so to recap, Intune is available with, I think, with almost every Microsoft license there is. Different licenses will offer different features on top of it. You can easily deploy basic policies to devices to put basic security in place. And I really highly recommend that you start off with very basic policies. Time and time again, I see people sit down, start to have a conversation about all the amazing things Intune can do, but that becomes this massive, great big beast and becomes expensive and time consuming and lots of gotchas and rabbit holes. And in the end, nothing happens. Keep it simple. Is the device got a lock on it? Is it secure? Get that deployed out, then turn on the conditional access. Then you can start to look with that framework in place, introducing any new features from that point on becomes a lot easier. Okay, now that is pretty well much this in a nutshell. So I'm wondering if we have any questions.
We don't have any questions at the moment, Bill, but one of the questions I get asked a lot when talking to organizations about implementing some sort of mobile device management is, I'm going to get pushback from staff with their BYOD devices. The staff probably won't want, or the staff will be suspicious or be uncomfortable with us having control over their mobile. And that's a really good point, and it's a great conversation to have, because you're allowing their personal device to have your company information on it. But it's also good, we have created documents for clients so we can explain what the mobile device management will be doing to their phone.
Yeah.
So we can't, we don't have access to the admin person, or Kinetics does not have access to their personal data, like their browsing history, their personal calls, their texts, or their those sorts of things. But we can see the settings, the serial number, the manufacturer, and the installed apps. Now, installed apps might create some confusion for some people as well, but by the same token, it's looking for apps. We're not spending time staring at
and
people's apps.
Scott, and that's why, if I stop you there, that's why I say keep it simple at first.
Yep.
Right. Because you see, as you talk, it can get, oh, I can do this, and we could 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 do this, and then, oh, it's just all too hard. Keep it focused on those initial things. People should understand, that if they're going to have company data, the company has a responsibility. The company has a responsibility to them to make sure that information about them does not get lost, and if it does, they know where that data is, that they can react and do something. And that's what company emails are. It might be that me personally, I have no access to anything confidential. Well, actually I do. I have an emails that I'm exchanging with you. I'm in party to those. So the company has that responsibility. It's a little bit like the MFA question when that first came out. Oh, you want me to have an authenticator on my phone to use it for work? Well, I'd start off by, maybe I'm a little bit authoritarian, but I go, well, you're using my Wi-Fi, aren't you? Yeah. When you come to work, I could turn that off, right? That's security for you. I think it's not too hard a conversation to have, because in the end, if they already do not have a PIN on their phone, they are a risk to themselves. And if it came to it, I would have to say, if they don't have a PIN on their phone and you're allowing them to have company data, I don't think it's you are at risk. If that data was lost and stolen, I think the Privacy Commissioner would be able to ask a fair question. What was the protection of it? How did you know that was protected? There is an easy way to do it. So keep it simple, keep it tight, keep the conversation controlled, so it's easy to be a bit clear about what's happening and why you need to do it. It's their job as well, isn't it? If anything goes wrong. Am I seeing something in chat?
So someone had to leave, so
okay.
I do have one Q&A. How to manage when staff on mobile. How to manage when staff use one mobile for personal and company purposes. So, good question.
So if I go, when you on my slides, and it was one thing that I spoke out that I stopped. It gets easier as you start with a clean device. That's why I say, first of all, two policies: a company policy and a BYO policy, right? Because the company policies, as you deploy clean devices, you can do more. And with the correct licenses, you can start to containerize what happens. So you can actually say, this data is going to be kept only in a specific place within the phone. But you can't do this if somebody's already using it, and therefore it can be, and that place can be wiped when you leave. So we're managing part of the phone. You can still, you can't copy your data out of that, but you can take your photos, which are kept elsewhere on the phone. So there are things that can take place there. You do start to get differences between, is it an Android, is it an Apple? But if you start off, once again, if you start off a nice simple policy, it's easier as you bring on new phones, which are clean to start with, that you can layer on more security at that point.
And if you have people, and if you already have people that are using their personal phones for their work, for your company purposes, we can work around that. And I know starting from scratch isn't practical all the time, but if we have to, it can be done.
Yeah. We have it here, and plenty of places do, and that's why you do need those two policies, because you can't, like I said, you can do more with a phone that you own than with somebody's phone. So it's a good question to ask. And it could hold a whole webinar, which I'd get people, which actually, if anyone lasted the entire 30 minutes on a webinar just on that, I think you'd be doing well.
That's right.
But we could do several webinars on it.
Another question, this time from Greg. Do you have any recommendation related to the best phone access control pin, unlock pattern, facial recognition, or fingerprint? Thanks. So what is best? What's, I guess, pin numbers and patterns? Bill, do you have any take on that, or would it be?
So when you're starting to use mobile management, of course, you've got to work with what it allows. So and it can rate these things. So I think for us, we enforce a PIN which has to be these days 6 characters and include a letter and a number. Okay, so it's got more sophisticated, but that doesn't stop me. I have to put that in, but it still allows me to use facial recognition to unlock the PIN. Right. So I don't think there's any, it comes down to what suits people. The old finger biometrics. It's never worked with me. I can never remember which finger I used. So I stick with a PIN, but it is that versatile. It says you can't use these methods because they're not as secure as this method, but you can use any method above that. And yeah, it's one thing, and everybody's dropping off, so probably a little bit too late, but that idea of the basic plan, going to put that into a bit of a one-pager doc for people. So you can start with that. Just reach out to your account managers. It's just an idea I only had early this morning. We'll put that a little bit more detail than I can put onto a couple of slides about what are good basic policies to start with. And just ask your account manager and they can get you a copy of that. Be ready by the end of the week.
Okay, excellent. We don't seem to have any more questions.
Yeah.
What is, I see you've got a slide up for next webinar next month.
Yeah. So next month I've got a guest. So it's going to be no slides. It's going to be a discussion. Thomas works for a company called Enable, and he's one of their cybersecurity experts, been in the industry for a while. So he's going to give us a bit of an update on what the current trends are with cybersecurity. But the idea is, my questions I want to find out from him actually, what do I need to do? Right? There's lots of things I can do. What are the basics I need to do? One that I know still a lot of people struggle with is, am I secure out of the box? So I get antivirus out of the box. What's antivirus? What's EDR? Why does people like me always say you should be using EDR? What is the difference between the two? He's going to help explain that. And yeah, my final question, I think from it is, and actually, what else should I be doing? What are the kind of, is there an answer to the question of what's the minimum I should do? A difficult question. I haven't told him I'm going to ask that question. It's the last one on the list.
Okay. Brilliant.
And just why I think he could be interesting. Known him for a while, but although he works for a vendor, they actually also supply a whole lot of other stuff. So they produce something, they supply a whole lot of stuff. So he's not specifically sitting there pushing a product, which can be the case with a number of interviewees.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much, Bill. We don't have any other questions, so I think we can close the webinar out. And thanks always for your prep and your time. Appreciate it.